Good afternoon. I'm Greg O'Rourke, the FFA head of the leagues. This afternoon I've been asked to finally answer the stuff that's on soccer Twitter, to actually respond for the very first time. I have social media accounts, but I don't post anything. I just usually review them to see the nasty things people are saying about me. So this time I have the first chance to respond. So I'm going to go through the questions, and thanks to everyone who sent me some stuff. So the first one is from Timmy. Timmy asks, will members be allowed into the games? The answer to that is hopefully yes. What we're trying to do is to work with the different venues and the different state legislations around restrictions of COVID and try and get as many people into the ground as possible under those restrictions. And of course, most of those should be the existing members. The ones that have been following their team for ages should be the ones that are allowed first back to see that. So hopefully in every stadium we're going to put the game on, that'll be allowable. That's our want. The next question is from James. James said, how is the 2021 season going to start once the 2019-20 season ends? The first thing I'd say is it's probably going to start late. This season's going to finish 3 months later than we would have originally scheduled. So we wouldn't expect necessarily it's going to be 3 months later to start, but we also know the other cards are going to finish probably, more likely, at the end of October, early November. Therefore, we'll probably start after that. And look, we might start for Christmas. We'll see what happens. We'll see if we can bring you that present. Are the final series going to be played in one state? If you'd asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I would have said yes. But now all the restrictions are easing. We hope to be able to go back to our normal mechanic. The one where whoever earns the right to host can actually play in their state. And in fact, it could even be in their country. Wellington Phoenix have made it very clear to me, if they earn the right to host the grand final, they want to play it in Sky Stadium, Wellington. So yeah, I think we'll go back to our normal model. Hopefully there's no second wave of COVID. Hopefully the curve remains flat, and hopefully we go back to playing in front of full houses. Then Austin asked me, where will the A-League hub be? Well, again, the A-League hub will be in New South Wales, but who will be in the hub? 4 weeks ago in the hub, there would have been all the teams. Now, under new relaxation, we're probably only going to have the 4 New South Wales-based teams, plus Perth and plus Wellington. Wellington, obviously, because the Trans-Tasman bubble hasn't been opened, and Perth, because we're going to play 27 games in 28 games in 28 days, and Perth's going to play at the very beginning of that and the very last game, the ability for them to fly back to Perth, fly back to Sydney, keep doing that for 6 games is going to be more difficult for them logistically, and also I think more pressure on their players. So I think the strength and conditioning guys and the coaches will say, you know what, we prefer just to bunker down and stay in the hub. So the quick answer to what you're asking is there's going to be 6 teams in New South Wales, and probably the other 5, 3 from Melbourne, 1 from Adelaide, and 1 from Brisbane, will continue to fly in, fly out like they did pre-COVID. Oh, here they are, the real A-League memes. Finally asking me a question I get to respond to. In a perfect world, how many teams would you think should be in the A-League? I think in a perfect world, it's either going to be 14 or 16. Probably 16. 16 allows us to have more than 6 months worth of football and only 2 rounds. 1 home, 1 away, not what we currently have where we've got a home and away and then another one. That's been quite difficult to manage. And also I understand the fans at points in time go, well, we've already played 2 times. I mean, some codes in Australia, as you know, they don't even play each other twice. We're playing each other 3 times. So I think 16 works well.
And Greg, how do you feel about A-League memes? I mean, would you be open to sitting down and having a beer with A-League memes, discuss football?
Yeah, absolutely. It would be good. It'd be good to actually have the ability to respond to the A-League memes and sit down and speak to them real. Now I can sit in a pub and actually have a beer and a schnitty with them. It would be good, right? You know, a couple of weeks ago I wouldn't have been able to do that, right? We would have had to Zoom it, right? But, you know, it'd be good to have a beer and sit down and talk to these guys and, you know, see if we can change exactly the, the interaction to make it even closer, right? Maybe they don't want that. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. See. The next question is from Trent. Trent says, how's the Phoenix tracking getting to Australia? What's the plan? We expect Phoenix will be here in a couple of days. We would have hoped that they would have already been on a plane and arriving later today or at least tomorrow. But it's complicated, right? Because you're actually dealing with an exemption. You need to apply to New South Wales Health, you need to apply to Border Force, you need to apply to New South Wales Police to get an exemption. It's not easy, and Wellington Phoenix has got half their team based here already. They've got half their team based in Wellington, but then they've also got hoopsers coming back from the UK, and you've also got Davila coming from South America and all those sorts of things. So trying to coordinate those things is difficult because as soon as the last person gets into the hub, then the 14 days starts all over again. So there's a lot of coordination. They'll definitely be here by the weekend. That's my prediction. The next question is from C. Wilson. This is an easy one. Gatorade or Powerade? Favourite colour, favourite flavour? Before this job, I used to work for PepsiCo, so it's definitely Gatorade. And definitely yellow is the one I like the most. And when I come off the football field, that's the one I try and grab. That or the second one is blue. But actually, for me, yellow, first and foremost. Next question, Noah Slater. When will the fixtures be released? Well, the fixtures have been released to the clubs. So the clubs know exactly when they're playing, what day they're playing, and who they're playing. The only thing is a little bit mixed at the moment is exactly what venue. Because under the hub model, they're going to play in Sydney. Under the relaxed model, which is I think where we'll end up, they'll end up playing in their home teams, except as I said before, for Wellington and Perth. So when will it be released publicly? When it's signed off by the broadcaster. When Fox sign it off, then we're ready to share, then we can build the next wave of excitement. All right, a couple of more here. The Ladies League, another one I like to follow and see what they're saying about the game, and they work hard, those ladies. So they're saying, can we please get some tickets to the game? The answer to that is obviously yes. Free on the house, on me. Definitely, right? For all the work you've done while the season's been suspended and all the work you've done before that, right? And even for one of you that I know tripped across to the Women's World Cup in France as well. You deserve a ticket. At least one each, maybe two. Bring a friend. All right. Tim's the next one. Tim says, how often does Marvin CC FC slide into your DMs? Well, I've got to say I'm going to struggle to even know what that is, right? But the last time I was on a football field and someone was sliding in, they got a yellow card. But I'm not sure in this case. I get the DMs is on my social media account. But if it is, the only DMs I get is from my daughters. So I haven't actually seen Marvin there. Yeah, but
DM is a direct message.
Yeah, direct message, right? I do like the way he dances though, right? Or she dances. I'm not too sure whether or not Marvin sounds like it'll be a he. But I reckon sometimes I look at it, maybe it's not a he in the suit. But I understand the DMs now. Thanks for that. A-League memes again. These guys are really hammering me. When was the last time you spoke to David Gallup and actually enjoyed the conversation? Well, that's interesting. I spoke at David Gallup's farewell. In fact, I did his farewell speech. And everyone's feedback was, that was good. And David came up to me and said, after that, thanks very much, you really enjoyed it. So we both really enjoyed that conversation. And that's the last time I spoke to David. Should A-League memes run your social media instead of the third-party guys you use? Well, I reckon you could both do it, right? I reckon you could both do it. I mean, why shouldn't we collaborate, right? So get the real A-League memes in, get the third party that you referred to here. We've also got some people in-house as well. I mean, 1 + 1 + 1 maybe equals 5, right? Let's do it. So after I buy you that beer and that schnitty and you guys come in and we have a chat, maybe you can come in here and help us get along. A few more questions before we finish, right? I think there's about another 5 or 6 here, right? Next one is from the Raw Corps, supporters of Brisbane Raw. What discussions and planning has commenced with clubs to ensure we have a strong WLeague for the 2020-21 season? Well, I have to say our priority in the last couple of weeks has been bringing the A-League back, but getting the WLeague back is also an equal priority. We were lucky in respect of last year's season, the WLeague. We didn't actually have to cancel any games. You might remember that the grand final was one of the first games played behind closed doors. It was in Melbourne. We went down there. There was only about 50 of us in the crowd, some family. That's basically all that was there. And it was a sensational game. We're now in the long break, as we always are with the WLeague, so we've got a little bit more time than we do with the A-League. But it's clearly on our agenda. And if you think about the Women's World Cup bid, which is going to be released in like 10 days' time, and Australia and New Zealand top the technical report, I think it'd be great to expand the WLeague between now and 2023. It'd be great to expand it. It'd be great to think about what we should do for women's sport in New Zealand and how we bring all that stuff together as well. So it's definitely top of mind. Blair asks, what's the latest in safe smoke and flares? Would it now be a good time to try it out with reduced capacity venues? Well, we've had plenty of ideas here that have been shot down, and safe smoke was probably one of them. But, you know, at one point in time I said we should have sort of music, and we should have things going on to keep the fans interested. And I was basically marched up Oxford Street for that sort of thing, right? People were like, please get out of the office, you know, you've got to go and see some stuff. And now COVID shut down, all the other sports are playing music and seem to be getting away with it. But anyway, safe smoke, flares. Believe it or not, some of them have actually adopted it. Wellington is one that's really taken it on board, right? Central Coast said they would have, but I gave them all the games in the afternoon, so the flares didn't really affect anything because the sun was still up. But, you know, sun's hardly ever up in Wellington. And, you know, when we're playing over there, it's been good. And the way they've presented it behind their logo and all that sort of stuff. So I'm open. If the clubs want to do it, that's up to them. So Yusuf says, did you take a pay cut like the players, or was somebody else he refers to right that you didn't? Well, in fact, I did take a pay cut. And whilst I don't really want to talk about what I did, I would also like to tell you that no one came to me and asked me to take a pay cut. I went to the management and said I wanted to take a pay cut. And the reason I want to take a pay cut is because not only do I want to be like the players, but there's only 23 staff run the A-League here. I know it often gets spoken about that there's hundreds and hundreds of people here and all that sort of stuff. There's 23 people who run the A-League, the WLeague, and the E-League and the Y-League. And they, most of them anyway, 18 of them originally were all stood down on JobKeeper. So I walked up and said, you know what, that's not fair. You're going to cut my pay and cut it significantly, and we did. So, you know, yes is the answer to your question. I'm sharing the load just like everyone else is. And I think that's only fair. James asked the question, why do we as a fan get kept in the dark on what's happening? Other codes all over the media. Well, interesting, because a lot of people thought that we should be back pushing to play the games again. But there's one fundamental technical thing that probably we should have explained better. And that is all the contracts of A-League players expire on a cycle of 31 May. So even if we'd come back, like one other code was able to do, 3 days before the end of May, we would have only been able to play 2 or 3 games and all the contracts would have expired. So we had to go to the players and the PFA, to the Players Federation, and talk to them about doing a few things. One was, firstly, would they be interested in extending the season for 3 months? Secondly, then all that sort of stuff required another collective bargaining agreement and another player deal and another terms and conditions. And then we had other people that were supposed to move to other clubs, both internationally and local. We had to work through all that. So it wasn't as easy as it was for the other 2 codes to go, you know, we're stopped. All our players are contracted. Let's just stand up again. We had to say, you know what? All our guys are now out of contract. We effectively had to go and re-employ over 100 players in addition to those that were on multi-year agreements. So yeah, it was a very different piece of information that was probably, if it was in the public domain, people would have gone, yeah, makes sense. But without it, people were just going, what are they doing? So I get that. Couple more left, both from James, and one more from Liam. So James is asking the same question, why has it taken so long? So I think I just answered that. And he said, why aren't you beating your drum like the other codes, right? Well, we couldn't do it unless we had the product guaranteed. And the PFA and the players who took, you know, a significant leadership position on this to be able to come back, signed the deal with the FFA on Sunday night. On Monday, we went and spoke to the clubs and told them we're going to be back, and Tuesday, which is today, we're talking to the public. So we are going to beat our drums, but we couldn't beat our drums about something that wasn't agreed. And the last question, a very specific question about a very specific club from Liam. Liam saying, will Sydney ever be beaten? Well, who knows? What we do know is we've had a long layoff. So if they were a horse and there was other horses out there that have a cross beside the name as having had a big spell, who knows what lies ahead? But I can assure you, with 27 games in 28 days, there's lots of fun, lots of excitement, and probably lots of upsets. I look forward to you joining me. Thanks for your time.